also genuinely don't understand how this is happening. Like, I feel like I just made my March reading wrap up yesterday. How do you talk about this without sounding ridiculously cliched? Does anyone know? How do you talk about time without it sounding super canned? I don't know, but genuinely, like, it feels like yesterday, and I don't understand what happened to this past month, but I got some reading done. So, hey guys, Girl About Library, and I'm here today with my April reading wrap-up. I read 6 books in the month of April. I feel pretty good about that, so I will talk about each of those books as you do in a wrap-up, but I will have timestamps down below with like the time of each of the books that I talk about, because naturally there might be one you're more interested in than the others, and you know, like, no hard feelings. Skip ahead. Also, I would never find out, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's get into it. First up is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I gave myself credit last month for reading this book, and I am giving myself credit again for reading it in April. I read like a book's worth of it in March and then a book's worth of it in April. I gave it 3 stars. Like, I would give it 3 stars for my enjoyment of it, but like 4 stars for effort and like artistic talent. I didn't enjoy it, but I totally get why other people do, and I've talked about it enough. Like, I feel like I've talked about it like every video between TBRs and wrap-ups for a while now, because it's been in a process. But I finished it at the beginning of the month, and I'm glad that I did. I would never have finished this book if I hadn't been buddy reading it, so props to buddy reading, another bonus of that. But literally as soon as I finished it, like, I took it to half price. I don't have it anymore because I knew I would never reread it. But if you like fantasy, if you want to read a long fantasy with comments on like modern America, it's one to pick up. Was it a favorite? Absolutely not. But then the reading month got better. It got a lot better. So after that, I read Lily de Jong by Janet Benton, and I gave that book 4 stars. Lily de Jong is a historical fiction novel. It is set in the late 1880s, and it follows a young Quaker woman. She finds herself pregnant and like completely abandoned. It gets rough. It gets rough for Lily really, really quickly. And this book was so strong in its depiction of like what that would be like what it would be like to be pregnant and alone in the late 1800s. It's terrifying. Like, if you want to feel appreciative that you live in 2018 and that you were born when you were born and that you will have children when you will have children, like, this book will do that for you. So Lily gives birth at a women's center that is like specifically for women who are pregnant and alone, and she struggles. Like, she struggles just to, one, be able to keep her daughter. Like, it was a foregone conclusion that she would put her up for adoption, or that like the baby would go to these centers that they had. And so much of this history just like I wasn't aware of, and I love historical fiction novels that like really fill in gaps in history that you had no idea even existed. So after she gives birth to her, it's a foregone conclusion, the baby's gonna go. She decides that she wants to keep it, and from there it's like, well, how are you gonna support yourself? No one wants to give you a job, no one wants to give you any kind of hand up, because everyone, like, society's entire agenda is just to keep you like down, and it was crazy. One thing about this book, and I mentioned this like in the 60-second book review of it that I did that will come out, is that there are a lot of descriptions in this book of breastfeeding, because Lily is breastfeeding her baby. She also becomes a wet nurse in order to like be able to support her and her daughter. And so it's very accurate. Like, it's, I mean, breastfeeding in the late 1800s and like breastfeeding today is not that different. So it was like, it was interesting, but for a lot of readers, I could see it being a very repetitive theme of like, oh, okay, if I can not hear any more descriptions of a woman breastfeeding, that would be great. So I can see it being way too repetitive of a thing for some readers. Didn't bother me. I really enjoyed this book, and I recommend it if you enjoy historical fiction. After that, I read Simon versus the HOMOSAPIENS Agenda. I read / listened. You know what? Actually, that's a lie. I just listened to this book. So, Simon is by Becky Albertalli, and I gave this book 4 stars. This book has been everywhere. A movie was made of it, obviously, like you guys know this. This book has been everywhere, and so I had to pick it up. I don't read YA fiction as, like, I would not consider that the genre that I read, but usually, like, there's one a month that I pick up, so it's like 1/5 to 1/6 of my reading. Becky Albertalli in particular is a YA author that I will read. Like, finished Simon, and now I can't wait. Finished Simon, and now I'm super excited to read Leah on the Offbeat, because I know I'm gonna like it. Like, Becky Albertalli is just a YA author that I can read, and it doesn't feel cringy, and it doesn't feel like, I don't know, if you stick to adult fiction and then you like step out of that comfort zone and read a YA fiction book, the language is completely different. Like, the themes, if it's a good book, like they stay the same, but the feel of it is so different. But Becky Albertalli as a writer, it doesn't irk me. It doesn't like stick out like, well, I'm reading a book for teenagers. It doesn't feel like that. It was just a good book. It's also a book that made me want to like dig deeper into like other people's feelings about it, because there's so much here. If you're not familiar with like the book and like the plot of it, it is about a high schooler named Simon. He has been exchanging like these secret emails with a guy whose codename is Blue. So Simon has a codename. The guy who he's sending emails back and forth with also has a codename, and he knows it's a guy at his high school. He just doesn't know who. And Simon is gay, but he's in the closet. Like, no one at his high school knows this. But one day, a guy in his class named Martin like stumbles on these emails, and it's just, ugh. He uses it as blackmail to try to get Simon to do things for him, and it's enraging. Like, I was like shaking the steering wheel of my car just in anger at Martin, because I just couldn't believe some of the stuff that he did and like the consequences that caused for Simon and for Blue. And it just, well, and that becomes like a driving force in the book, are these blackmails, and then Simon trying to like protect Blue. And yeah, it's just, there's so much here. Like, Becky's writing is so rich and like deep, and there's just like quotable moments throughout of it that I really enjoyed, and it's a good book. If you're like me and you hadn't read this book yet, you should pick it up. It's really good. After that, I read another book that has been getting a ton of buzz, and that is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I don't know that I've decided on a star rating for this book. Like, I have mixed feels about this one. It was kind of a bummer. I guess I would give it 4 stars because I thought it was going to be an easy 5. I think that's the problem. Maybe I built it up too much in my mind. I had too much hype around it. I just thought like the actual storytelling aspects of this book are not great. And I've never read another Margaret Atwood book, so I don't know if it's like specific to this book or if it's like a style choice throughout her books. But the situation in the book just seems so outlandish without any explanation, that I had a hard time enjoying it just as like, this is a metaphor for society kind of way, because I kept getting like into the trenches of like, but how? I do think that it's very smart and interesting and like important. If you're not familiar with the plot of this one either, I'm just gonna assume that you have no idea what I'm talking about. I should really start off with like the plot of books. So why do I not do that? The Handmaid's Tale is about a woman named Of Fred, or Offred, I think is, but she's of Fred because she belongs to a man named Fred. But in this dystopian future that's imagined in The Handmaid's Tale, birth rates have gone down, and we don't have an explanation of why. And that's a lot to put on Margaret to like explain how that might happen, but it's happened. And so women who are able to have children are used kind of like machines for that purpose. They are given to people for the sole purpose of like reproducing, and that's the entire value that like they have in their lives. And obviously it's awful. there were some really good quotes and some really interesting moments in this book that will stay with me. I think like the ideas it presents are really important, but I just like the actual story and like reading it was just kind of like I really thought this was going to be a 5-star read, and it was not. After that, I read The Women in the Castle, which was like so close to a 5-star read. So close. The Women in the Castle is by Jessica Shattuck. It is about 3 different widows after World War II in Germany. They all take shelter in this castle that belongs to the families of one of the women. If you enjoy historical fiction, I highly recommend this book. It has so much like emotional depth to it. It made me think about things that other World War II historical fiction books hadn't made me think about. The biggest of which is like after World War II, when everyone came back to Germany, no matter what like terrible atrocities they had committed, if they survived and they came back home, you were now the neighbor of someone who might have done something terrible. Maybe you knew them before the war happened and they had committed these atrocities, or you didn't. But after World War II, it was like you never knew. And so really important relationships like your husband or your wife or like friendships took on a shade of gray because you never fully knew what that person was capable of. I thought this book was great. I will absolutely read another book by this author. And if you enjoyed The Nightingale, I think you will like this book. Last but not least, maybe least, I mean stars-wise, least, but reading experience, I don't know, is Bring Me Back by B.A. Paris. This book comes out in June, but when I saw it on NetGalley, I requested a copy because I loved Behind Closed Doors so much, and this book was a bummer. Like this book was a bummer. This book follows a man named Finn, and at the beginning of the book, he is being interviewed because his girlfriend, Layla, has gone missing. And then the book resumes like over a decade later. Layla is still missing, but Finn is now like a class act dating Layla's sister, Ellen. So at the beginning of the book, like Finn and Ellen start finding some signs that Layla might be alive. Like there's things around the house and outside their house that make them think that she's like leaving them signs. And also Finn is receiving some kind of spooky emails. So he also is kind of like, is Layla alive or is someone holding her hostage? Something is going on. They know Layla's back. And Layla being back kind of turns sinister, and this book is somewhere between 2 and 3 stars for me. I'm having a hard time deciding for sure because Lord, it was just so unbelievable. Like if you read this book, you will get, I was rolling my eyes so hard. But even, here's the thing, like the thing about this author is that even when I was rolling my eyes super hard, and I mean I had moments like that behind closed doors too. Like sometimes thrillers go to slightly unbelievable places. But B.A. Paris is just so talented that even when stories seem completely outlandish, like she still gives me goosebumps. Like I got legit goosies even when I was rolling my eyes. So I will read another book by her without a doubt, like for sure. Would I recommend this one? Absolutely not. And that was my reading for the month of April. Pretty solid month. Yeah. I'm excited for May. I have some really good books coming up, and you know, since I'm a slacker and we're already like a week into May, I can tell you some of them have been really good so far. Let me know below what books stood out for you in the month of April. What do I need to read? What should I not read? Like, I enjoy a good don't read this recommendation almost as much as I enjoy a like this book is great recommendation. So let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe so you can watch more videos. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.